in our department, and the pros and cons. I think we should touch on both.
Yeah.
What are the potential upsides of having all this data?
Yeah.
And then what are the things that we want to watch out for?
Yeah.
We certainly don't want the data to fall into the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Who is monitoring and owns the data?
Yeah.
Sort of mind that we're looking for. Is there a potential for it to come back?
Yeah.
Later on down the
Yeah.
road?
What are the types of things that, right, what are the types of things that you want to specifically focus on the negatives? That want to, like, are there specifics that you want to?
How's this sound?
I think, okay, so
Good?
specifically,
No, it's not
are,
bad. The direction
will
my side will pick
the
up
data be potentially used at some point to define specific metrics or procedures for example, the average cornea specialist in your area can do a DSAT in 41 minutes. Why does it take you 56 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sort of like, is there a concern for imposing specific time or RVU metrics based on data averages? And is that helpful for us as a profession? Will it help to sort of are there 1% of ophthalmologists that maybe shouldn't be doing DSECs or whatever procedure because they're taking twice as long as they should? Or is that like an unnecessary decision?
Yeah.
So what are the potential ramifications on individual physicians or departments in terms of trying to conform?
I think that sounds great. So I would suggest that we do this in two parts. One of them would deal with quality of care and quality improvement, and the second part would deal with big data. Because I think that the big data is a side effect of the quality of care stuff. You know what I mean? That because all that data gets collected for quality of care, it's out there in the repository. And so in a way, it's kind of backwards of how it's listed here. It's listed as big data. And so, I think that'll keep it with the more natural.
Okay. Awesome. Can you take off your badge?
Oh, yes, of course.
And I'm introducing you from the court, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You want us to look at the camera in general or look at each other?
When I'm asking you a question, I'll look at you.
Okay.
Yeah, I totally didn't do that, which is a problem.
You did it. Oh, you did fine. You did fine. All right. And now we can stand right in front of you.
Okay.
Good morning from the Asia Pacific Academy of Ophthalmology in Taiwan. We're pleased to be here with Dr. Michael Chang from Portland, Oregon. Thanks a lot for being here this morning.
Thanks, John.
Michael, I know you have a really great topic about the American Academy of Ophthalmology's IRIS registry. Can you explain, first of all, what is the registry, and then how do we use it in terms of improving patient outcomes and quality of care?
Jonathan, the IRIS registry is a project through the American Academy of Ophthalmology that's meant to be a quality improvement tool. Basically, it collects clinical data from ophthalmologists around the country who contract with the Academy for IRIS registry. And basically collects clinical data from real-world patient encounters that's extracted from electronic health records during the process of routine care. So it doesn't take any extra time to collect this data. And these data get used to compute quality measures, that are meant to reflect good clinical practices. And the point of having these data is that ophthalmologists can get benchmarks by going to the registry tool dashboard for how they're doing compared to benchmarks around the country. And the point is that especially for areas where we aren't doing well, we can recognize that and improve.
So, Michael, can you give us an example? For instance, let's say a patient with glaucoma comes in for a regular visit. Will the registry prompt us to make sure that we get a visual field at appropriate intervals, or that we obtain an LCT at appropriate intervals, for example?
The registry does not prompt you to obtain those things at regular intervals. But for certain things where they relate to quality measures, compute the quality measures and give you feedback after the fact that you didn't do this, and then you go back and look at those things and figure out, I should be doing this better.
I see. What are we seeing now from the data that has been collected over the past several years? Are there certain trends or establishment of benchmarks that have resulted from the collection of data?
Well, I think was interesting that came out of the data is that after cataract surgery, within 30 days of the surgery, in 2% of the cases, there was a second procedure that was required for a complication. That does not include the capsulotomy. And so what we learned from that was, number one, cataract surgery probably isn't always as safe as what we advertise. And number two is that the second year that iris registry is operational, that complication rate went down from 2% to 1%. And so the point that I take away from that is that when doctors get feedback, they can then figure out what's going wrong and try to make it better.
That makes good sense. I want to shift gears, Michael, for a moment and talk about the other side of collecting data and sort of the big data sense that sometimes individuals can become fearful of big data because of the implications that it may affect them individually or as departments or groups. And I wonder, should ophthalmologists be fearful of what the big data may imply? Will there be set benchmarks imposed or set efficiencies imposed as a result of the data?
Jonathan, I think that that's one of the potential problems with big data. And you could argue that Facebook, when you go there, based on your patterns of clicks and which posts you like, Facebook has an analytics team that can figure out what your political beliefs are, where you're living, what your intelligence is, based on things like that. So I think that you can go to Amazon.com. They can recommend books and movies for you with actually very, very high accuracy based on this exact thing. And so in that sense, yes, there's definitely some, there are things that we have to watch out for as a community. I think the good news is that the quality measures in iris are developed by ophthalmology experts, and they're meant to be used for ophthalmologists. And so I think to me the point is that if we do these in a thoughtful manner, that we can come up with quality measures that are actually clinically relevant and that will advance the profession, rather than do some of the things that you might be concerned about.
I think that's a really good point, Michael. The point that ophthalmologists are driving the collection and analysis of the data, and so if, for example, government bodies such as Medicare want to start looking at benchmarks for ophthalmology in the future, it's data that ophthalmologists have already generated and driven, and so there's more control from a professional standpoint by ophthalmologists.
Yeah, John, I think that's a really good point. That in the past, some of these benchmarks have been driven the other way around, where it's people imposing on us what we need to do. Whereas I think one of the benefits of this may be that we get to invent what those benchmarks are, test them in iris, and then roll them out in the real world when it comes to things like value-based purchasing that are coming up in the future.
Well, this is such important information, Michael, and I know that we'll all be very excited to see how the data are looked at going forward and how the registry grows. I really appreciate your sharing your expertise with us this morning.
Thanks, John.
Good.
Great. All right, well, thanks. Awesome.
Jonathan, I think we should do this more often.
I do it often enough. Thank you.
This is a side job.
Yes.